Welcome in. This is episode 10 of Going the JC Route. This is your host, JC, and I'm here with AJ Brock. The Birdman is away this evening. It feels like
we got a dog to take his place.
it feels like every week somebody's missing. But yep, we do have a new puppy dog.
We do. Her name is Heidi. Welcome her to the fam.
Heidi. Is it Heidi like the Heidi Beer House? The slot machine you see in the casinos?
How do you spell that? I can't remember off the top of my head how that one's spelled.
I don't know, dude.
It's H. That's how it's spelled, yeah.
Okay. Something like that. We'll just call her trainer to bring us beers. That sounds good to me.
Yeah, right.
On a almost more serious note, I think we've hit rock bottom. Well, at least Oklahoma has.
I think Texas has too, bro. I mean,
I would argue that it's hard to say that for Texas. You know why?
Okay. Because the opponent we played?
No.
Why?
You already have more wins this year than you had all of last year.
That's true. That's very true.
I'm not, and it's kind of funny when you put it in perspective. OU's 5-5, and Texas is 6-4, but we're at rock bottom, and Texas is improving.
And I want, as much as I want to look at the bright side, I mean, twice this year, I've seen very, very lethargic performance on the offense side of the ball from the University of Texas. You know, the defensive side is, for the most part, fine when they actually play the opponent, but just what I've been seeing out of the play calling, the decision making by
Texas's offense this year is one of the more interesting cases of football, because Sark was hired to be this offensive guru. Am I wrong?
Yeah,
had that track record at not only at Bama but even before then. But I feel like watching Texas, he likes to get in the rhythm of calling the same plays over and over. If something works, for some reason, not going to it again. Like I think it was this week against TCU. I don't think they threw it one screen until the second half, and it worked.
Yeah, no, they didn't. And a lot of the first half was Quinn Ewers going deep and not connecting. That was the majority of it. And to TCU's credit, they were able to stop Bijan.
I say, to be fair, TCU's defense played really, really well.
They did. They played really well. They didn't give Quinn anything.
My thing is, and I still think it's a little early. I think it's too early to know. But at what point do we have to say, hey, Quinn is not the guy?
I think it's still.
It feels like 3 weeks in a row now that.
I think it's too early, you know, and that's the thing that's so like puzzling. It's like last week the offense looks great, Quinn looks great. The week before that, or the game prior to Kansas State, they played OSU. We saw what happened. They looked pretty good, and then they crashed. And then you go to this week, and it's just bad all the way around. So I mean, I'm going to give Quinn a little leeway here because he's still a freshman, but man, like to have a perfect rating as a recruit to look like this, I want to say 2 weeks out of the season all together is kind of surprising. But again, to be fair, TCU's defense did play extremely well. So I think, and here's the deal. Get this, bro. Like Bijan had 12 carries for 29 yards. Let that sink in. And Jordan Whittington was your leading receiver. And I'm not even trying to badmouth Whittington. Whittington, I like him a lot. I saw him play at Cuero, and he was phenomenal then. But when you have Xavier Worthy too, and Jatavion Sanders, like I wouldn't think Whittington would be the leading receiver.
So, I think I saw a stat. It was crazy. I think it was like only 3 different people caught passes in the game.
Something like I saw something like that too. Something like that. And
just abysmal. I mean, it was just a bad mix of TCU playing really, really well and Sark going bland. Texas is now on a streak of 6 straight quarters with no offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing that was.
And you're rolling.
I look.
And guess who you're playing this weekend?
Baylor, right?
No,
Kansas. It's Kansas and Lawrence.
You get to roll into Lawrence, Kansas.
I'm not too concerned about Kansas, to be honest with you, but
Texas
I'm
hasn't
just
beaten
not.
Kansas in over 1,000 days.
Shut up. I'm not too concerned about Kansas, but
It hasn't beat Kansas since 2019.
Is that actually a thing? Has it been that long?
Yes, because they didn't play. They didn't play in 2020.
And that's right. That's true. Okay, fair enough. But nah, man, it's right now. Texas is a 9-point favorite, and
I mean OU was a 7.5-point favorite, or might have been 9-point favorite last week at West Virginia. And we saw how that ended.
That's true. That's true, but I don't know, man. All in all,
it's just frustrating. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it either. I saw real quick before I move on from UT here, bro. I thought UT played like I said. I thought the defense actually looked good, but the offense.
Texas's defense played well.
Texas's defense played well, which is I'm excited to see because their defense has been
the
garbage.
Minus Max Duggan gifting Texas 7 points, they didn't do anything.
No, they didn't. And to pinball off that, the offense didn't do anything. They got shellacked by TCU's defense and just boring, lethargic play calling. And it's puzzling and it's kind of it's irritating, to be honest with you. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you think UT stands a chance in Lawrence after what we just saw?
Say it again.
Do you think UT stands a chance in Lawrence after what we just saw?
Yeah, but if you're not careful, if your defense doesn't come to play and you're not careful, Kansas will run it up on you, especially since I'm pretty sure Jalen Daniels is coming back this week.
I think he is. That's also something I've seen. I mean, and to TCU's, from the TCU perspective of things, like, you know, they have every right to be they're number 4. Is that what I saw?
Yeah, TCU's number 4.
They have every right to be number 4. I think I talked about this with you earlier in the week, that going into Saturday, that TCU this year has a case of OU syndrome. Is that what we decided?
In what way?
That they were the most overrated undefeated team.
I think we talked about something like that.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of people feel that way towards TCU.
Because I don't know, man. I mean, I'm looking at.
Unfortunately, they passed their biggest test yet.
Yeah, they did.
This week, and now they have Baylor.
They've got TCU has. Let's see here.
I want to say they put Baylor.
TCU's got Baylor and Iowa State left. They go to Baylor, and then they're at home against Iowa State.
And if they're not careful, Baylor's prone to.
Dude, I would be honest and say Baylor's honestly their biggest test.
I mean, Baylor has
now.
Left, remaining, but I mean, it's them and Iowa State who's been god awful this year.
That's true.
Unfortunately, Baylor hasn't lived up to the expectation this year either of what we thought they would be.
Right.
I mean, TCU, they should beat both of them, barring something catastrophic.
Right.
So it'll be interesting. As it stands, it's looking like it's going to be an all-purple Big 12 championship, though, which is super annoying.
Yeah, it looks like it. But that's kind of my rant. I could go on for an hour about how irritating UT was this past Saturday, but
So Texas has to go to Lawrence this week, and then who do they have the last week of the year?
Baylor, and they're in Austin for Baylor, so it's not an easy schedule at all.
No,
I think best case scenario, they'll win one of those games at this point.
probably.
I mean, I could see them showing up for Baylor. I mean, I could see them. The crazy thing is UT still has an outside shot of making the Big 12 championship after this. They do, which is astonishing to me.
Yeah, that would require K-State to lose a couple times.
K-State would need. Let's see. What are the Big 12 rankings, right? Like in the conference. Let's see. So TCU's number one, obviously. Then K-State. They're 5-2. Then Oklahoma State. Then Baylor. Then Texas. So Texas would have to win out, and then Oklahoma State would have to lose another one, and then K-State would have to lose.
Let me see.
For that to happen, because Texas would have the tiebreaker with Kansas State. Right now, Oklahoma State is at 4-3 in the conference.
Yeah, Texas would have to beat Baylor. Hopefully, Oklahoma can help this week.
I'm kind of banking on that, to be honest with you, because I would like to play TCU again, and hopefully Sark will make adjustments and not call the game that was called against TCU this past Saturday.
And who does K-State have remaining? Oh,
K-State
has at West Virginia and at home against Kansas. Gross.
Yeah,
They should win both of those games.
They should, keyword. But anyway, I'm kind of banking on OSU and losing to Oklahoma this weekend, but I don't know. Dude, I mean, I kind of transitioning into the Oklahoma talk here. I was watching that game too, and I was like, you know what? As awesome as this has been, watching OU have 5 losses, I can't remember like the last time I've seen OU have 5 losses in a season. The only time I've witnessed Oklahoma.
The answer to that is 1999, Bob Stoops' first year.
Okay.
You know what happened the very next year?
Okay, yes, we know what happens. Y'all go and win a natty. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen next year, bud.
I don't know either, and I'm not going to get my hopes up. It really plays into the narrative of. I've had the last couple of days especially. I've heard so many people question whether or not Brent Venables is the guy.
It's 1 year.
Actually, I was listening to another podcast where they
went
through every head coach in the Power 5, and they either classified them as the guy, not on the fence, or not the right guy. And there was like across the board, like not sure, the wrong guy or the guy. And the Homer part of me wants to say he's the guy, trust the process, etc. But honestly, I really think it's too early to tell.
It's way too early to tell. And I will defend
because there's some fans
on that one.
There's some fans that are like, are we running a youth ministry or are we running a football program? And I'm like,
come on,
Jesus, dude. Calm down.
It's way too early for that kind of talk. And I will defend Oklahoma on that. It's not even a season yet. Like, and look at what Lincoln Riley did. Like, there's still the aftermath of that whole fiasco, of all the damage he caused. Like, Venables still has to get his system. I will say this. I think Venables needs to get because he's calling the defense right now, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, he's actually not.
Okay.
Ted Roof.
Okay. Do you like
them? But Ted Roof is calling the defense.
So, one of my good friends, his name's Hogan. His roommate is actually an OU grad, and he is not a fan of it's funny you said Ted Roof. That sparked my memory. He's not a fan of Ted Roof at all. He wants Venables to actually get a real DC in the staff of the Oklahoma football program. I mean, what do you think about that?
I think it's difficult because Ted Roof hasn't exactly had a great history of coaching.
Sure.
But it's I feel like there has to be a disconnect there somewhere because it is Venables' system and Venables isn't calling it. Yeah, he's there on the field coaching when he can, helping because Roof stays in the box with Levy, but Venables is obviously there on the field helping coach it, but he's not making the calls play to play. And then because he's not calling the plays, and add that to that his system is incredibly difficult to understand.
Yeah.
I mean, Venables' system is widely known as one of the more difficult systems to grasp. And the fact that we're playing a lot of freshmen and sophomores, it doesn't surprise me that we're struggling on defense, especially. But there is just basic things that should not be happening. Like it seems like every week we've got our linebackers filling the same gap together and then having a gap wide open. And we're like, who does not know their responsibility?
Right.
I mean, we played all right against West Virginia. I mean, they did the right thing by putting in a quarterback who can actually run, and he burned us. We just couldn't tackle. Now, the weather conditions in West Virginia in Morgantown were atrocious.
They were atrocious.
But that's not an excuse. We've got to be able to tackle. We should be able to contain. We contain JT Daniels, who apparently is just bad. As soon as we get a quarterback that can run, we get messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And that dude literally carried his team to victory, which is a shame because our defense didn't play terrible this past week. We held them to 23 points. That said, for some reason, it seems like we're never on the same page or playing complementary football. Like literally our defense played well, but our offense could not do anything. Dylan Gabriel did not look good. He's still missing throws he should not miss. But when it comes down to it, if you look at the stats, OU ranks 7th in offense this year.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the game.
Dylan Gabriel, but
true. And I mean, I was watching the game. I was actually flipping back and forth between that one and Arkansas. And I mean, I saw like what you were seeing because we were talking on the phone for a little bit of it, and you were screaming like, "If you throw that on target, that's a touchdown."
Which there's 2 or 3 of those every week, I swear. I think it was the first play against. I don't remember. I think it was the first play against Baylor, maybe. Marvin Mims runs a out and up rail shot route, and if DG puts it on him, well, no, what happened was Marvin dropped it actually. DG put it on him, and Marvin dropped it. If he catches that in stride, it's a touchdown. Same, but more often than not, there's just so many downfield throws that Marvin Mims or somebody else is wide open. There's just been so many routes this year. Marvin Mims has been wide open, but he hasn't been able to capitalize on because DG can't hit him. And I'm like, dude, I get you're the 3-star coming out of high school and you committed to UCF for a reason, but dude, you got to be able to hit a wide open receiver downfield. It's ridiculous.
Because I mean, it's shocking to have a receiver like Marvin, right, and him only having 4 touchdowns on the year. I actually just looked up that stat. That was shocking. But I did see that Eric Gray had a really good game. I mean, he had over 200 yards rushing.
Eric Gray has been stellar the last 3 or 4 weeks. Basically, since OU Texas, he's been really, really good.
Right. And let's not forget, like, OU Texas also, like, they were playing 10-man football against 11-man because no quarterback.
Literally.
But
they threw Gumby out at wide receiver.
But no, man. I mean, it's just I feel the frustration. I mean, where does OU win this weekend?
I think it depends on it. If Spencer Sanders is healthy or not.
Yeah.
Because the last few weeks he hasn't, and Oklahoma State has looked abysmal.
Yeah.
Would be to put it politely. I mean, they got absolutely trounced by Kansas. I can't remember if that was this past week or the week before, but they got
it was the week before.
They got absolutely demolished. And then they choked against Iowa State this week, I think, or was it vice versa?
Let me see. Stand by. Oklahoma State. No, Oklahoma State won against Iowa State, 20-14.
Okay, it was Iowa State that choked against them,
Yeah.
which is interesting. But it's going to come down to Spencer Sanders' health, because if they're playing what's his face from Frisco Lone Star or whoever else, Oklahoma should win that game. Their backup quarterbacks are just not very good, and they can't score without Spencer Sanders.
Yeah.
If Spencer Sanders is playing, and I would bet a lot of money that Spencer Sanders is trying to do everything he can to play in this game.
Sure.
Especially being his last one. If he's playing and he's anything like we know he can be, doesn't even have to be 100%. If he's 80%, they'll probably win. Because we've seen running quarterbacks just give us such a problem this year.
Sure. Yeah, man.
I want to say based on the title, I think really the question is Oklahoma hit rock bottom? I mean, it kind of feels like it. It's like we should not lose to West Virginia. That's the first time West Virginia, as a member of the Big 12, has ever beaten Oklahoma.
And that's also, I mean, I didn't know that. I was going to ask, that's the first time also that OU's lost with the Rough Rider jerseys, right?
With the white ones, yes.
Oh, okay.
Which is,
but
that means nothing.
That means nothing. But no, I didn't know that. I think that's the first time West Virginia.
That question of rock bottom, I think there's one thing that can get lower, and it's if we miss a bowl game. Which we've got 2 games left. We need to win one of them to get to a bowl game. And more than anything, I couldn't care about whatever freaking Bahamas Bowl you're going to send us to or whatever it might be.
The Cheez-It Bowl.
So I've got something on that in a minute. But
sure. Take these out. They're annoying.
I don't really care what bowl it is. Like, I want the extra 15 to 20 practices we get from going to a bowl.
Sure.
We need that, especially with these younger players going into next year, because that's basically you get an additional freaking spring practice for going to a bowl game, and these kids need it. We're going to need it a lot going into next year if we're going to be competitive.
Sure. I mean,
on the Cheez-It Bowl, did you see that Cheez-It sponsored another bowl game?
No, who'd they sponsor? Who'd they sponsor?
They're now the title sponsor of the Citrus Bowl.
Okay.
So they have the Cheez-It Bowl in Orlando. And now they also have the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl in Orlando.
The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Okay.
And their logos look incredibly similar.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I have to look this up. That's interesting.
I mean, let me see if I can.
Yeah, the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Bowl. There we go. Oh, hello. Man,
yeah.
What the heck?
Let me show you.
What is this? Man, man. I don't know. Do you want to go repping in the Cheez-It Bowl, James? Or the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl?
It won't let me share, but there's literally a picture of literally the 2 bowls posted it, the little Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other and they had the logos on each one. And let me see if I can send it in the chat.
Man, that's interesting.
And I'm just like, how did
How did they manage to pull that off? Money?
Who allowed that?
Who allowed that to happen? Because surely there would have to be something in the contract, right, where it says they have to be like X percentage different, right?
Surely, I don't know. I saw somebody tweet today, and it was like, are Americans really buying enough cheddar flavored crackers products that they can afford to sponsor 2 bowls?
2 bowls, man.
And the answer is apparently yes.
I guess so. They're beating Goldfish out pretty well, apparently.
I mean, you throw me some white cheddar Parmesan Cheez-Its, I will mess them up.
Oh man, I think I saw something at the state fair too, where it was like a sandwich topped with Cheez-Its as well. It was quite interesting. But anyway,
I mean, let's say going back to OU, I think we could definitely hit a lower bottom if we miss a bowl game. And I'm not exactly confident in our odds because we have Bedlam at home this week, and we have to go to Lubbock next week as a night game.
Yeah, I was about to. I mean,
and Joey McGuire wants to beat the brakes off of Oklahoma more than anything in the world at this point.
Oh, really? It's like that.
He said it going into the season. He said, "In the end of the year, we're going to finish our season off by beating Oklahoma at home in Lubbock, and we're going to knock down the south end zone to celebrate." Because they're renovating their stadium.
Sure.
And I'm just like, oh boy. I mean, similar to Texas, you saw his spiel after beat Texas. The road through the Big 12 is coming through Lubbock. Blah 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 blah. Not this year, buddy. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because I adore Joey McGuire. I think he's a great coach, and we saw it growing up in high school in Texas. But I mean, I do not like having to go to Lubbock in week 13.
And that game's probably going to be at night too.
It is at night. It's a 6:30 game.
Was it really? Is it announced?
Yes, and I'm in pain.
Why did ESPN not show it? It says Tibet.
It was announced this weekend, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I know Bedlam this year is at 6:30.
The night game, yeah.
Okay. By the way, James, Bedlam tickets are as low as $84.
I'm working this weekend, unfortunately.
Man.
Yeah. OU Texas Tech is 6:30 on FS1.
Okay. And weird things happen in Lubbock at night, dude. I speak from experience.
Oh, I'm aware. I'm aware.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
Anyway, no, I mean,
we'll have to see what happens from here. I'm hoping OU can beat Oklahoma State and just say, all right, now we're bowl eligible. We won our rivalry for this year, and we can go on in peace.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you know like the streak of how many years Oklahoma State has beaten Oklahoma? It can't be more than 2.
I don't know the longest streak that they've ever won, because I know the record is atrocious.
The record's like not even close. Let's see. OU leads the series 90.
Yeah, it's 90-97.
Yeah, it's not close. It's worse.
90-97.
It's worse than UT and whatever you call that in College Station.
So there is I was gonna say, so Oklahoma State has never won more than 2 in a row.
Okay.
However, there was a streak from 1929 to 1934 where it went tie, Oklahoma State, tie, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, tie.
Okay.
Other than that, it hasn't been close.
Not close at all. Yeah.
Not at all. Yeah. I mean, there were in the late 90s and early 2000s, Oklahoma State won, 5 out of 8 from 95 to 2002. But
I would be surprised. I mean, I'm thinking OU is going to bounce back this week against their rival because it's in Norman. But
Jesus. So the first game, November 6th, 1904, was played at, and it was actually played in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
Okay. Where is
I don't know. I've heard of it. I don't remember. Oklahoma won 75-0.
You know, I just saw that. I'm staring at it right now, actually. It's 75-0.
That's probably the largest margin of victory ever.
It has to be.
Yeah. There's a couple that are close, but nothing that horrendous.
It's worse than like I said, it's worse than the UT A&M record. But before we move on, James, are we ready to move on?
Yeah.
I'm
tired of talking about Oklahoma at this point.
Do you think do you have a score prediction
for Bedlam?
Yeah, and yeah, because it's called that exactly. It's Bedlam. Who knows what will happen?
I have no idea where it's gonna go. I think if Spencer Sanders is out, OU wins 30-27, 30-24, something like that. If Spencer Sanders plays, I think it's going to be like Oklahoma State, like 42-38 or something like that.
Okay. Real quick, because I had to mention them. What is going on in College Station? It's so beautiful.
Hey, Jimbo.
Okay.
Jimbo's trying to become the richest fired coach in the country.
So let me tell you this, okay? Because one of my coworkers.
The line this week against UMass is 33.5.
Yeah.
Do they cover?
Honestly, I think they cover with what I've been seeing. I see it. The yeah.
I mean, UMass is bad.
UMass is bad, but so I mean, I have a hard time believing the one thing that I've heard from Aggie supporters, which is whoever listens to this, if you're an Aggie supporter, don't take this personally, but every time I try and have a cordial conversation with an Aggie, and it begins with criticizing their football team, they get really defensive. But the main thing that I've heard Aggies come up with, James, about what's going on is their youth, that this is just all youth. And I have a hard time buying into that defense, saying that this debacle that is going on in College Station is just lack of experience. No, the players at A&M are not this bad to lose 6 in a row.
You can't make the argument of we just had our best recruiting class ever. We have all this talent, blah 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 blah, and then go say, "Oh, but they're young."
Yeah, just to lose 6 in a row, and I have it. Yeah, to lose 6 in a row, it's insane.
I don't know that they cover this week. I really don't.
And
33.5 is a ton of points.
Oh, I was saying, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, 33. I was saying that that UMass was going to prevent them from beating them by 33.5.
No, that's the spread.
Yeah,
that's the spread.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think Texas A&M is going to win by 34 points or more. I just don't.
No.
Even though UMass is bad, they're not terrible.
I agree with that.
And then A&M has to play LSU in week 13, which that's probably not going to be pretty.
No, I think LSU is going to run riot on A&M.
It's going to be fun. I'll tell you what. Rolling up to the playoff, LSU going to be in the SEC championship game instead of Bama. That'll be fun.
I'm so happy it's somebody different for once. It's just change. I could care less at this point who it is. Just the fact that Nick Saban and his raw tide of a team are not there is good enough for me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Excuse me. I'll tell you what. What the hell is the Pac-12 doing? They're ruining all their chances again.
I know. Dude, what the heck? Who? You want to talk about a disappointment? Oregon?
At this point, and I hate to say it, their last realistic hope for the playoff is USC.
USC, yep.
And it would not surprise me at all if they rolled into the Rose Bowl this weekend and lost to UCLA.
I agree. Based on how it's gone, not just for USC, but for the Pac-12 too.
Which I hate to say because UCLA shit the bed against Arizona last week.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Arizona is not a good team. They're not bad. But if UCLA is real, you should not lose that game.
No. Agreed.
And then USC is one of those teams where I think they got ranked 7th tonight. Basically between LSU and Bama. Somebody made a good point in the last few days. It's USC is a weird team.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, they're a lot like Oklahoma the last few years where they don't win blowouts. They win close.
Yeah.
But it never really feels like they're out of control of the game necessarily. They just don't win big. Like, I think it was like 17-10 or something like that. They beat Colorado this past week.
USC?
Yeah.
Against Colorado.
They played on Friday night.
Stand by. USC beat Colorado. Oh, you're talking about USC beat Colorado 55-17. They obliterated them.
Was that the game they played this past week?
Yeah, that's their last one.
I don't know.
I mean, against Cal, they won 41-35. Is that the one you're thinking of?
No, it was probably. I'm probably thinking of something else. But I know they barely
beat Arizona.
They barely beat Arizona. They barely beat Oregon State. They lost to Utah. They still have to play Notre Dame, which is not looking like a bad team anymore.
No, Notre Dame's figuring it out.
So, like, literally, USC's last 2 games of the year are UCLA and Notre Dame. They could lose both of those games.
They could, realistically, the way they've played.
And if they do, Pac-12's out of the playoff. And all of a sudden, it's looking like a Big Ten and SEC invitational.
Honestly, yeah. I mean,
if you were to lose one of their games, including the Big 12 championship game, it could very well end up being 2 Big Ten teams and 2 SEC teams.
Yeah, good.
That would be with the assumption that Ohio State and Michigan played a close game.
Yeah, I agree with that. So,
because what ends up happening is, say Georgia wins their game, TCU wins their games, and Michigan and Ohio State play a close game. What's going to happen is at the end of the regular season, you're going to have Georgia 1. You're going to have Ohio State or Michigan, whoever won the game, at 2. You'll have TCU at 3, and then you'll have whoever lost the game and or Tennessee at 4. And then if TCU ends up losing one of their games or their Big 12 championship game, they slide out, and then whoever got left at 5 gets put in.
Yeah, and I mean, what?
Unless
say USC wins.
Unless LSU wins out and ends up winning the SEC championship game, then we've got the world burning.
Yeah. And, what if what all you just said happened before LSU winning the SEC championship, right? Let's say what you predicted about Michigan and Ohio State being close, TCU winning. What about USC winning out? Do you see them sneaking in?
9. So they would be 11-1. It would depend if they win the Pac-12 or not.
If they win, I'm saying if they win the Pac-12 and TCU wins the Big 12.
If they win the Pac-12 and they end the season 12-1, everything else would have to go pretty much chalk the rest of the way, and they would get in, because if everything else goes chalk, that means Georgia wins out, they're 1. Ohio State wins out, they stay 2. Well, or honestly, Ohio State or Michigan wins out, and they're undefeated with the Big Ten. They stay 2. Whoever loses that game is probably dropping to 5. If TCU wins out, they're undefeated. Winner of the Big 12. They're in at 3. And now that 4 spot comes down to 12-1 conference champion USC, probably an 11-1 Michigan non-conference champ, an 11-1 non-conference champ in Tennessee, and whoever else after that. Now, if between Tennessee and Michigan, Tennessee will 100% have the better resume, because if Michigan loses to Ohio State, they don't have a resume. They just don't. The Big Ten this year was not very good. But assuming that you have USC as a 1-loss conference champion, they would get in because their 1 loss is to a ranked Utah team on the road.
Right.
So everything else would have to go chalk pretty much, but I could easily see USC getting in, unfortunately. They'll get railroaded by Georgia in the first round, which I would love to see, but that's for a conversation to have.
Right. I agree, like, today with what the rankings are for sure. But
imagine USC gets in at the 4 seed and they go beat Georgia. The world will burn, specifically in Oklahoma, USA.
Oklahoma, USA. Unless you're in Stillwater.
What?
Unless you're in Stillwater.
I mean, all over Oklahoma, USA.
Definitely. Dude, I mean, it
just
dude, okay, I think that's rock bottom.
No.
Oh, you missed it.
Because that has nothing to do with our program anymore.
Well, no, but here's what I'm saying. Hear me out.
It wouldn't feel good, that's for sure. It wouldn't be rock bottom.
Well, no. You're missing the bowl game, right? And then on top of that, USC goes into the national championship game.
I mean, I don't know if that'd be rock bottom, but if anything, it would prove for sure that Lincoln Riley gutted our program.
Oh, yeah. Which he did. Everybody knows he did. But anyway, now I agree with the rankings right now. Unfortunately, I think I got to give TCU credit where it's deserved. And I was actually talking with some of my family about going to the Horseshoe to watch Ohio State, Michigan. And then I saw the ticket price and I went,
what is it?
Right now, let's see. When I checked, it was like almost $400. Okay. Oh, it went down. It's now tickets as low as $359 to go to Columbus.
Shot.
I was like, no. Don't get me wrong. Going to the Horseshoe before this game would give me such a rush, but not that big of a rush. I got enough of a rush from the Cornhuskers against Oklahoma. But anyway.
I mean, that was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I was hoping that game would be a little bit closer.
It turned out to be closer. Dude, Northwestern's only win this year is against Nebraska. What does that tell you? But anyway.
Yeah, so guess what's happened? Guess what the forecast is for that weekend?
What, in Columbus?
Yeah.
What is it?
Frozen mix. So good luck.
Oh, it's going to be okay. All right. Okay. Right now, as it stands, Ohio State is a 7-point favorite over Michigan. I believe it. But
Luka is a robot. Holy crap.
I mean, I think CJ Stroud is going to be way too much for Michigan, honestly.
I don't know. CJ Stroud kind of showed this past week at Northwestern that he's not exactly a leader. I mean, like, you could tell he was miserable and just had that mindset of, let's win this game and get out of here, instead of rallying his team together. It's just like, yeah, let me go do my thing and get out of here. Versus, I feel like Michigan has the offense with Blake Corum that if the weather's bad, especially, they're the more physical football team. They can just run the ball down Ohio State's throat because that's the one thing Ohio State's proven this year is they're definitely a good team. They're super talented. They have awesome wide receivers and they can throw the ball, but they're not physical.
Yeah.
So if the weather's bad, especially, and there has to be a physical football team, that they're not that team. That's not going to happen. So if you get into a physical football game with Michigan, you're probably going to lose.
I could see that. And we'll definitely know more next week leading up to it. But let's see.
But enough about college football. I think we've got to talk
Dude,
about
we have yet to
what the hell is happening in the NFL.
Dude, I mean,
Eagles lost. That's exciting.
oh, dude, I mean, nothing could make me happier after this atrocious weekend of football for me. But, I mean, SMU won. But no, the Eagles did lose. I thought the ending was absolutely funny. First thing,
I've never seen a guy happier to get hit late.
Me neither. Back it up, though, even before that. You know, I will. Okay, fine. The Eagles fans want to complain about a missed call on Dallas Goedert's face mask. Okay, fine, whatever. Eat my ass. Refs miss calls all the time against.
Nobody wants to do that.
I don't know. She's not listening. But anyway, I made a comment. You weren't listening. You're good. No, when Goddard fumbled the ball, I was screaming. And then when Jalen Hurts connected with, what was his name? Deep down, was it Hopkins? I was cussing up a storm, and I was like, wow, come on, commodes. You can't cover a guy deep down the field, and then proceeds to get up, and then he fumbles the ball, and then my cussing up a storm turns into just shouting at my TV to jump on the ball. They do that. And then I've never seen something like that where a quarterback kneels and then what was it, like 2-3 seconds later, not one but two players go in.
Someone was talking to me about this today. I went back and watched it, and so if you're looking at it just on the TV screen, one player is coming up from the bottom, one player is coming around from the top. The player on the bottom was already on the ground, and he just kind of lunged him at the knees. I don't really care about that. The guy that's coming around at the top, what the hell are you doing? He was already stumbling and stuff like that, but dude, you cannot do that.
Not at all.
You just can't. It didn't seem malicious or anything. I'm just like, that's one of those plays where it's like, you've got to know a little bit better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was looking actually at some Eagles fan pages. Guessing a bunch of them were.
Ugh, why would you get into the cesspool?
Oh, just because I wanted to see I needed some joy. After how this weekend went for me, I needed some more joy. And just watching Eagles fans cry about how the officiating was terrible was giving me great satisfaction. The refs did not lose you that.
I know somebody else who thought the officials were bad this weekend.
Oh,
I said I know somebody else who thought the officials were bad this weekend.
Who?
Mr. Mark McCarthy.
Don't get me started, man. I've actually, up until this weekend, I was actually starting to like a little more. I was.
Let me start you up.
Yeah. I was actually really starting to like Mike McCarthy, like as a head coach. Like I've never had any dislike for him, but up until this season,
I don't have any. Now people do it all the time. Blame the officiating.
James, my beef with him is after a loss, as a coach, you should not. A loss like this one in particular, where you're playing an inferior opponent who hasn't thrown the ball well all year.
Historically speaking,
fine.
And we call Aaron Rodgers an inferior opponent.
No, I'm not him. I have the utmost respect for Aaron Rodgers. But in general, the way this season has gone, right? To play the Packers.
Sure. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. But to play the Packers in this state, like where they are as a team, and to have the Cowboys come in there after the way they've been playing. And
it looks good to start the game, too.
They did, but they couldn't finish. And the first thing McCarthy blames is the officials. No, not after a loss like that. That should be maybe the 10th thing, on the last thing on your list that you blame. The first thing, where is this defense that has been so amazing that the past 2 weeks in particular they have played has struggled against the run? I think if the offense for the Cowboys
that's been the Cowboys' whole downfall this year has been
the run. I think they could have easily lost to the Bears if that offense did not show up for the Cowboys.
Now we have Dalvin Cook this week.
I know. Like teams have found a way to beat the Cowboys defense.
And if I may, what a game the Vikings and the Bills game was. What a game.
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely phenomenal game.
No, it was a great game. But bro, the question remains,
Who would
right?
have thought you're gonna fumble on your own goal line?
Josh Allen, of all people.
Oh my god! I watched that, and I was so sad when Minnesota didn't score. But then I'm watching it, and I'm like, of course he fucking fumbles in his own end zone. Of course.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, no, teams have finally figured out how to beat us, and it's sticking to the run. That's what the Packers did for the most part.
Well, and because of the nature of our defense. We're an ultra aggressive defense. Our DBs commit to the turnover, which is why we bust so often, and our front seven is committed to blitzing the passer. So all you got to do to beat a pressure or beat a blitz is run right through it, and teams are starting to realize that, unfortunately. So we've got to find some way to overcome that. And now it doesn't help that our linebacking core is getting hurt, and then our is also is shorthanded as well. So we're gonna have to find a way to cope the rest of the year. You know, as far as Mike McCarthy getting upset against the officiating, I don't really care, honestly. He's gonna say what he wants to say. I mean, nevertheless, that DB did mug CeeDee Lamb before the ball got there.
Oh yeah, no, agree. Agree. And then of all the calls you're gonna call, that one where Malik Davis had that beautiful run on the draw in overtime.
Yeah.
Of all the holding calls, you're gonna call that one. It's the law, right? The way it's written. That's a holding. Don't disagree. But of all the ones, you're gonna call that one.
Yeah. And then I think the other kind of controversial thing was the 4th and 4 call in overtime. To kicking a field goal. You know, I don't particularly have a problem with that call. Reason being, if you think about it, from where they were on the field, right? We see people go for it in college football all the time, right?
Sure.
They're in that kind of range where it's a long field goal. It was well within Maher's range, but we had already seen Mason Crosby miss a field goal that game already. That was way shorter than that,
and conditions worse during the game.
Right, and then logistically, right, if you go for it and you convert, then we get to keep the ball and keep driving, hopefully leading to a touchdown and winning the game.
Yeah.
If you kick a field goal and you score 3 points, okay, you're giving the ball back to Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau in overtime. Whippy. I mean,
yeah.
If you miss the field goal, you're giving them better field position than if you are, and if you by going for it and either not getting any yards or whatever it may be.
Right.
So I think analytically, which we can talk about analytics and all that stuff all that we want. I think analytically it made sense to go for it. But what it comes down to is I learned this a while ago. There's really 4 types of coaching in football. There is scared, conservative, aggressive, and reckless. It felt like that call to go for it was borderline reckless. When you sit back and think about it, it's definitely an aggressive play call. I don't know if it would be reckless or not.
I think McCarthy, this game in particular, I was listening to the sports radio about it, and they were going through it, and just calls in particular, like that one and others. He did some reckless decision makings, which I get it. It's your homecoming game in Lambeau. Emotions are going to run high, right? But as a head coach, you can't let reckless emotional decision making overtake you. And talking about coaching, kind of pivoting.
I think that's what is frustrating, or can be, because it's kind of like the age-old saying, "Scared money don't make money," right?
Correct.
So at some point, and I think that's one of the biggest digs against Jason Garrett, was he was safe all the time. He never really went for it. He'd punt the ball, he'd kick the field goal, not go for two, whatever. Mike McCarthy's made it a mission to go the exact opposite way. Let's play super ultra aggressive. Let's return kicks. Let's go for it on fourth down. Let's do X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. It just seems like a lot of his style now has shifted into that reckless category versus aggressive. And we've got to find that balance of what we really want to do.
Right. And kind of pinballing off that too, I thought, this kind of goes back to Kellen Moore a little bit. He can call a good game like for 3 quarters, but he doesn't want to, can't do it, whatever you want to call it. He does not like to put games away. How many opportunities, James, did they have to put that game away and out of reach?
A lot.
And they didn't want to do it. They let him hang around. It's Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. They made this. Who's the guy that had he had 4 catches, 3 of which were touchdowns? Rookie for the Packers.
Christian Watson.
Watson hasn't had a good game yet, and he looks unbelievable against them.
I don't know what it is. It feels like all the teams I support allow the opposite team's rookie, unheard of guy, misfit, whoever, allows that player to have a breakout game against them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It may just be me, but it feels like it would be the Cowboys to let that happen.
It's not just you either, because then there's Chris too, who is not here. Feels the same way. It's funny. Chris got so frustrated after the game. I didn't expect. I thought this was going to be a hard game, and it shouldn't have been, but it was. And our co-host on the show also.
I mean, we're up 14 with what? A quarter left.
A quarter left. Like, you should be able. You should be able to win the game comfortably when you're up 14 in the fourth quarter. That is the Cowboys' first loss when leading by 14 points in the fourth quarter ever of all time. First loss. And
I know.
That's the part that's even more frustrating. But Bird got really, really frustrated because he thought the Cowboys were going to blow him out of the water. I didn't think that. But it was funny after the game. He was like, I'm so close to just calling it quits and just abandoning ship and getting the tattoo on my arm covered up with something else. I was like, dude.
I think it was you and me who had this conversation. Was going into the year, we actually pegged this as a loss for the Cowboys.
We did.
Packers at Lambeau. We don't win that game.
No.
Ever. But based on how the season had unfolded, our expectations had changed. And going in there, it's like, all right, we're 6-2. We're feeling good. We're looking good. Packers are not looking good. Aaron Rodgers is unhappy. whatever it may be, Cowboys should go in and win that game.
Yeah.
So to lose that game, be it we lost it the way we lost it, is super frustrating.
Yeah.
So, but I always try to bring back my perspective of we expected to lose that game in the first place, but because of our focus had like changed over the course of the year, it's disappointing.
Right.
And now we have to follow it up with arguably the best and or second best team in the NFC this year, going to Minnesota this week. Ugh.
No, with Dalvin Cook against this unbelievable running defense, yeah.
Right. So we have another game that will be difficult, but
The Cowboys are favored to win. Did you know that?
What?
The Cowboys are favored to win.
What's the line?
1.
So it's basically a pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em, but statistically speaking, hold that thought.
I mean, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys come into this game and just run away with it. But it also wouldn't surprise me if the Cowboys got blown out this game.
I could see.
Literally anything across the spectrum could happen.
Yeah, let me see here. That's a 3:30 game. Here we go. Minnesota. There it is. Okay, so we're favored by a point, but the predictor is we have a 57.2% chance to win in Minnesota, and they're undefeated at home. I mean, weirder things have happened. The Commodores beat the Eagles last night, but with Heineke, who is the starter, Wentz is on the bench. In my opinion. But I don't know, man. Based on the way this season has gone with this run defense, I think Minnesota is. I'm saying Minnesota is going to win, but it's going to be close.
I honestly, every week with me is I don't know what the hell the Cowboys are going to do each week. I really don't.
You know what? Preach that.
I just don't anymore.
Yeah.
Especially against good teams because they tend to like to play to their competition, which is annoying. We've had this conversation about Texas. And Texas plays to their competition. What that means, play up, play down, doesn't matter. They play to their competition. It's like the Cowboys do that also. Whatever their competition is, they play to them, which is super annoying.
It's so.
We should be beating the brakes off these bad teams, and we should be competitive against the good teams.
Yeah.
And we're competitive against the good teams, but we're not blowing out the bad teams, which is super frustrating.
Right.
Regardless, our schedule after Minnesota gets easier, so we should have a solid finish to the year. But
I think so.
There's a funny stat. If the playoffs were to start today, every Eastern NFL team would make the playoffs minus the Commanders. But they're only half a game out of the playoffs now.
Yeah.
So literally the entire AFC East would be in the playoffs, and everybody in the NFC East minus the Commanders are in the playoffs.
That's interesting. I just actually found this also.
But if the Commanders keep winning, they could end up being in the playoffs as well.
Mm-hmm. I could see the command with Heineke as quarterback. I could see him
He's just been so much better than Carson Wentz has this year,
dude. Which I wanted to tell you this.
Unfortunately,
I just saw this actually. Juan Rivera said he's unsure if a healthy Wentz will not get the quarterback job. He's still unsure about it. I'm like, dude, you have your answer. At least I think if Heineke can keep this up, why not? But I don't know. But the Cowboys' schedule, you're right, does get easier. I can't wait to play the Eagles on Christmas Eve. I cannot wait for that. Speaking of which, you see now that Dallas Goedert's out for a while.
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah, he's out. But the thing that really irks me too about the Eagles is that they're doing so well this season, and right now they have a number 6 overall pick because of New Orleans. That's what bugs me so much. Every now and then I'm just like, man, next year maybe people will figure out the Eagles, and then I'm like, they have a number 6 pick and they're doing amazing. So
what's annoying is who's the worst in what's the overall standings in the NFL right now?
I think Houston would get the first pick.
League standings.
NFL draft order right now.
Texans are officially the worst team.
It'd be Texans, Raiders.
Texans, Raiders, Bears, Saints.
Oh, James, I'm actually seeing Carolina right now.
So Carolina, Jacksonville, Saints, and Bears all have the same record.
If it started, because there's a website that I'm on, it's called Tankathon. 2023 draft order, and I misspoke. The Eagle. So here's how it goes: Houston. So the Texans, the Raiders, Panthers, then Eagles at number 4, right now. Then Jacksonville, Chicago, Seattle because of the Russell Wilson trade. Detroit from LA. The whole point of this is I'm looking at it. Texans need a quarterback. They're going to draft C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever they end up falling in love with. Yeah.
Raiders are not going to take a quarterback. They still like Derek Carr. They'll take somebody like Will Anderson or somebody like that.
Yeah.
The Bears or the Panthers. The Panthers probably take a quarterback. The Panthers, they'll take whoever the Texans didn't take, basically. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, whoever they fall in love with. That means we can Google it. 2023 top NFL draft picks. Right? Like
draft picks. I'm seeing Bijan. Bijan's one. Let's see. Let's see here.
Yeah, Bijan Robinson. That would be super annoying. They could also end up taking somebody like Brian Brzee or Jalen Carter or something like that.
It's right now the Eagles are probably going to take Bijan from what I just found.
Well, that's according to the Athletic.
I'm looking at the Athletic right now.
According to CBS, they could take Jalen Carter, which it wouldn't surprise me. Let them draft another defensive lineman. That would be super annoying. Especially since they drafted what's his face this past year. Kid out of Georgia, massive dude. I forgot his name.
That's gonna bug me. Hold on. That's gonna bother me.
I can see his face.
Jordan Davis.
There you go. That's it. I was super annoyed that they got him.
Yeah.
I would have loved him on the Cowboys.
Yeah. Run defense.
But regardless, that's a conversation for later to happen. So I think kind of to wrap it up, we're disappointed in what the Cowboys did.
I got a quick rant. I still do.
I don't think I have one. I'm just tired of being disappointed.
I'm tired of being disappointed too. At this point, it's sad to say it, but I'm used to it. But the other thing that
you never truly get used.
The other thing I should be used to, but I'm not, is this incompetent general manager of an owner that we have. For him to say, I'm still so hurt at this, to say that he is all in, he's going to do whatever it takes to win a championship this year at the beginning of the season and then at the trade deadline. He's going to do whatever it takes to get us over the hump, to try and get us a championship, and then does nothing. Has OBJ waiting and still won't do anything. It's mind-blowing to me, and it's very irritating that you say you're going to do all these things, but you end up doing nothing. It's like to me, it shows that you're not invested in this like you say you are. Look what the Rams did last year. They were invested. They got OBJ. Who else did they get? Jalen Ramsey. I mean, they made trades. They made moves. They made signings. Well, okay, fast forward. Our owner, Jerry Jones, says, yeah, I'm invested too, and then does nothing. That's my rant. It's just words without action.
Sounds like you're upset with Jerry Jones.
Well, that's per usual. Every problem with
What else is new at this point?
every problem with the Cowboys, coaching, play calling, decision making, players on the roster, all of this is rooted at Jerry Jones, and this is his fault. And I don't think Steven's going to be any better, unfortunately. But we'll see. I think if you keep this up, if you're the Cowboys and keep this record, I mean, you can't really get rid of McCarthy unless he leaves. So I would like to think Sean Payton would really help because Sean Payton is a very hands-on coach. But I don't know. I don't know if you can get rid of McCarthy if he leaves. I mean, if he keeps this up. But I did want to ask you this, James. Rumor has it Sean Payton has in his contract with the Saints that he can't coach anywhere else for, I think, 2 years. Have you heard anything like that?
I don't know. I know he's in the booth or in the studio this year, so that's 1 year.
Yeah, and I also heard that Bird actually told me this, that even McCarthy's kind of on edge about staying because of what Jerry Jones said at the beginning of the year about how he was going to bring in or try and bring in Sean Payton next year. So, I don't know.
I thought they kind of debunked that at some point, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. That's what Bird said. But
all I can say is for now we've got McCarthy. We've got a solid defense. We need to get better at the run game. We've got a solid offense. We just need to be more consistent.
They need to pay Pollard.
They're not going to.
You actually think he's going to walk? I hope he doesn't leave.
They're not going to pay him. They're going to keep Zeke, unfortunately.
That's so sad.
But that's a conversation for when the end ends up happening and not today.
That's
I don't have a rant. I'm ready to get out of here. This whole day has kind of pissed me off. Just beyond frustration, and don't even need to bother about worrying about all that other stuff. Like, it's been so frustrating. It's been a long ass week.
We do have the World Cup next week, though.
What?
We do have the World Cup next week, though.
We do. I said I'm not going to watch the opening game because that's Sunday, and I have the last race of the Formula One season to watch. So I'm going to be watching that.
Oh, okay.
It's Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo's last race of Formula One. So that's where I will be.
I got you.
But until then, thank you for watching episode 10 of Going the JC Route. This was your host, JC. That's AJ Rock. I'm tired. I'm going to upload this and go to bed. We'll see you when you see you next week as usual. Take it easy.